Hi everyone, my name is Laurent Kubaski. I'm the product manager for Files Connect, and today I will show you how to set up Files Connect for Google Drive. First thing to do is to enable Files Connect. So go to your setup tree and search for the Files Connect node, which is under Customize, Salesforce Files, Settings, Files Connect. Click on the Edit button and enable the Enable Files Connect checkbox. Then hit Save. Second step is to assign the Files Connect Cloud user permission to all the users that will use Files Connect. The recommended way to do this is to use a permission set. So search for the permission sets node, which is under Manage Users. So permission sets, and click on New or reuse an existing permission set. I will create a new permission set that will be called Files Connect. API name, use the default values. For the user license, use the default value, which is none, and that's very important. Make sure that you do not select a user license. So make sure that the default none value is selected. Hit Save. Scroll down to reach the System Permissions section. Click on Edit and search for the Files Connect Cloud user permission and click on the checkbox. Then save the permission set. Finally, click on Manage Assignments, and that's where you can decide who will use Files Connect. So let's click on Add Assignments, and let's add myself to the permission set. So that's me, and you can select as many users as you want. Then hit Assign. Okay, so I now have the Files Connect cloud user permission. Next step is to create an Auth provider. So go to the Auth providers section in the setup tree. Click on New, and be careful in the provider type dropdown. Make sure that you select OpenID Connect and not Google. Use OpenID Connect. Name, so Google Drive. Okay, URL suffix, use the default values. And for the moment, you will use fake values for all these 4 fields. So consumer key, foo, consumer secret, foo, authorized endpoint URL, https://foo, token endpoint URL, https://foo, and hit save. And why do we do this? To get a callback URL, which is displayed at the bottom of your Auth provider. So scroll down and you will see the callback URL. And you will paste this value in the Google app that you are going to create right now. So go to drive.google.com and log in as your Google Drive domain admin. Okay, then switch to this URL, https://console.developers.google.com/project. That's the Google Developers Console. Click on Create Project and enter a project name, for example, Files Connect for Google Drive. Okay, hit Create. You are now on your Google App dashboard. This drop-down displays all the Google apps you have. So if you want to switch to another app, use this drop-down. So on my app dashboard, click on Enable and Manage APIs. 7 APIs are enabled by default. We will add a new one called Drive API. So search for Drive, click on Drive API, and click on the Enable API button. Now if I go back, I now have 8 enabled APIs, including this one that we just added, Drive API. Okay, let's now go to the credentials section. Okay, click on New Credentials and choose OAuth Client ID. First, you need to create a consent screen, so click on Configure Consent Screen. Okay, email address should be pre-filled by default with the Google Drive domain admin, product name, for example, Files Connect for Google Drive, and that's the only mandatory value. Hit save. In the application type section, choose web application. Okay. And now you need to provide an authorized redirect URI, and actually you have this value in Salesforce. So go back to Salesforce and copy the callback URL in your clipboard. Back in Google Drive and paste the value. And don't forget to hit the Enter key, okay? So you should have this X at the right of your callback URL, and then hit save. Sorry, hit create. Okay, you now have a client ID and a client secret. Click on OK. So click on Web Client 1, again, client ID, client secret, and you will need to copy and paste these values back in Salesforce. So let's copy the client ID to the clipboard. Okay, go back in Salesforce and edit your auth provider. And consumer key, that's where you paste the client ID. Back in Google, we will copy the client secret to the clipboard. Back in Salesforce, and copy this value in the consumer secret field. You now need to provide the authorized endpoint URL, token endpoint URL, and user info endpoint URL. Refer to the Files Connect online help to learn what these values are. I'm just going to copy and paste the values. So authorized endpoint URL, this one. Token endpoint URL. Then user info endpoint URL. And you also need to fill in the default scopes field. So all these values are mentioned in the Files Connect setup guide. All right, hit save, and you now have your auth provider. Next step is to create an external data source. So search for external data sources in the setup tree. Click on New. External data source name, so Google Drive. Use the default value for the name field. In the type dropdown, choose Files Connect Google Drive. Okay. Identity type is per user. Let's keep this value. Authentication protocol OAuth 2.0. Authentication provider, click on the magnifying glass and choose the Google Drive auth provider that we just created. Notice that the start authentication flow on save checkbox is pre-selected, which means that when you click on save, you will be redirected to Google Drive, and that's a good way to test that your auth provider is correctly set up. So hit save. you will see this screen or something very similar to this screen, and click on Allow. You are now back in Salesforce. One last thing to do is to go back to your permission set. So the Files Connect permission set, and to click on the External Data Source Access section. Then click on Edit, and make sure that your external data source is in the Enabled External Data Sources section. Okay, and hit Save. All right, let's quickly check that everything is working correctly. Go on your Files tab, and you should now see a Google Drive link in the External Files section. The first time a user clicks on Google Drive, from there, he will see this. So he will need to link his Salesforce account to his Google Drive account. So let's click there. I am redirected in Google Drive. I click on Allow. I am back in Salesforce. And if I click on Google Drive again, I can now access my Google Drive document. So my drive shared with me, recent starred. And if I go to my drive, I get access to all, well, the documents in my drive. And that's exactly what you have when you use the native Google Drive user interface. So that's how you configure Files Connect for Google Drive. So the next part of the setup phase is actually optional, but is still highly recommended if you want to search in Salesforce and in Google Drive at the same time, or if you want a Google Drive tab in Salesforce. And to do this, you need to create an external object. So to create an external object, go to your setup tree, and go in the external data sources section, where you should have your Google Drive external data source, and click on it. Then click on the Validate and Sync button. Click on this checkbox and then hit the Sync button. And then wait for the external object to be created. An external object, it's like a custom object. It's a way to interact with your Google Drive content by using a Salesforce object. So that's your external object, so it's displayed in the external data source section. You also have a dedicated external objects section in the setup tree. So I now have one external object. So click on Edit, and let's change the plural label because it's the one that your users will see. So let's use a user-friendly name like simply Google Drive. Scroll down and make sure that the deployed option is selected, then hit Save. I'm going to click on the external object to show you the fields that are available. So you have all these fields, okay, so really that's like a custom object, and then you can use Socle and Saucer to query on all these Google Drive fields. Let's go back to our permission set. So permission set, and we have our Files Connect permission set. You need to give access, read access to all these fields that you saw on the external object. So reach the object settings section from your permission set, search for Google Drive, click there, hit the edit button, and basically click there and then give read access to all the fields. Okay, hit save. Let's now see what you can do with this. Well, first, you can create a Google Drive tab. So go in your tabs section, click on New, in the object dropdown, search for your items Google Drive external object. Then let's assign a tab style, for example, this one. Okay, next. Next, and save. Okay, I now have a Google Drive tab in my Salesforce org, and I can edit the field that I want to display. So let's click on edit, and for example, I will display the document name, document author, and the creation date. Okay, let's hit save. And that's it. I've just queried Google Drive using Circle. Let's edit the field, and for example, I will add a filter criteria on the name, like name contains Files Connect. Okay, if I hit save, and that's all my Files Connect document. In this case, it's a Circle search with a filter on the document name. So this is achieved using an external object. So again, that's optional if you just need to browse Files Connect and publish documents in a chatter feed. You don't need to create an external object. You go to your Files tab, Google Drive, you can browse Google Drive, and you can share document in Salesforce. But if you want a Google Drive tab, you need to create an external object. Another reason you may want to create an external object is to search in Google Drive and Salesforce at the same time. We call this global search. So in this case, now that I have an external object, I can search for Files Connect both in Salesforce and in Google Drive at the same time. So I just search for Files Connect, I hit search. Okay, and actually your external object will be displayed in the left menu somewhere. So if you don't see it, scroll down until you reach it. So in my case, it's there. It's right in the middle. So click on this icon to move it on top. And each user will need to do this. Again, if I search for Files Connect, I now have Google Drive search results right there. So that's a full text search in Google Drive. So we are searching in the document name and in the document body. So these documents are coming from Google Drive, and then you can open them, download them, or share them with Salesforce users group and records. And of course, after this, you have Salesforce search results. So articles, documents, accounts, leads, and so on. So that's Files Connect global search. And to do this, you need to create an external object, which is why, yes, it's optional, but I highly recommend that you create an external object.